Ah yeah, Resident Evil 4. The game that changed everything. A masterpiece that redefined action gaming. But also, the game that nearly killed Resident Evil as a survival horror franchise. So, how does a game simultaneously become a legend and a curse? Let's talk about it.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
To understand how Resident Evil 4 changed everything, we have to go back to what Resident Evil was before 2005. The original trilogy was the definition of survival horror. Fixed camera angles, limited resources, slow and methodical gameplay designed to instill fear and tension. Every bullet counted, every encounter was a choice, either fight or flee. The claustrophobic environments and eerie sound design made every moment feel like a struggle for survival. But then Resident Evil 4 happened. RE4 threw out the slow, horror-focused gameplay and replaced it with an over-the-shoulder, action-packed experience. Suddenly, you weren't just surviving, you were mowing down hordes of enemies with pinpoint precision. Not all of us can do that, but still. The tension of limited resources was still there, but now you were expected to engage in combat constantly. Instead of shambling zombies, you were up against aggressive, intelligent enemies that dodged, flanked, and swarmed you in large numbers. The infamous tank controls were abandoned in favor of a more fluid and dynamic movement system that let player aim freely, adding a layer of precision that changed how combat played out, which I actually think this is like a big step up. Gone were the days of tank controls and pre-rendered backgrounds. Instead, we had fluid movements, quick time events, and an arsenal of weapons meant for obliteration, not just survival. Then there were the set pieces. Oh my god, the set pieces, bro. They were fast-paced, heart-pounding moments that made the game feel more like an action movie than a horror experience. From fending off hordes in a cabin to an all-out siege in a medieval castle, the game constantly pushed you into larger, more bombastic encounters. This was no longer a game about avoiding danger. It was a game about overcoming it. It was a game literally that said that you are the danger. Even the game's inventory system reinforced its shift. Unlike the classic games that force you to juggle scarce resources in a tiny grid, RE4 introduced the attaché. Why did I wrote this? The attaché case. A larger, more flexible inventory that encouraged the player to stockpile weapons and ammo instead of making tough choices about what to carry. And then there was the merchant. Oh my god, I love him so much. Instead of scrounging for supplies in pure survival horror fashion, now you could buy and upgrade weapons, ensuring you were always armed for battle. The emphasis had shifted from surviving with what little you had to building a powerful arsenal for the next fight. Boss fights also reflected this change. Classic Resident Evil bosses were slow, monstrous creatures that you often had to outmaneuver or carefully plan around. But RE4? It introduced massive cinematic fights with quick time events, high mobility, and a focus on firepower. Whether it was dodging a towering giant, parrying knife attacks in a cutscene duel, or using mounted weapons to take down massive foes, RE4's bosses felt less like horror encounters and more like action spectacles. Capcom saw the success of Resident Evil 4 and took the wrong lesson from it. They didn't see it as, oh, a brilliant evolution of horror. No. They saw it as an action blockbuster with horror elements. And so, Resident Evil 4 was born. It doubled down on the action, making it a co-op with the dead to this day. If they made a remake of Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5 I mean, please fix Shiva AI. Please, I'm begging you, Capcom. Please, I will glaze you, Capcom. Fix Shiva's AI. While fun, barely resembled its survival horror roots. And then Resident Evil 6. What can I say about Resident Evil 6, honestly? The one that took it even further, trying to turn Resident Evil into a full-blown Michael Bay style action movie, complete with car chases, explosions, and whatever this was, bro. Each new entry moved further away from what made Resident Evil special. The horror was being overshadowed by spectacle, and the franchise was losing its identity. Where once you were forced to conserve ammo and make careful choices, now you were encouraged to unload entire clips into waves and waves of enemies. The slow, methodical pacing that made the original games so terrifying was gone, replaced by relentless action sequences. And of course, we cannot forget the moment when Resident Evil completely abandons settled horror and atmosphere. That's right, a game that once made you feel helpless against unstoppable monsters now had characters literally fist-fighting nature itself.
Oh, there's going to be one hell of a party when she returns home.
About the story, I'm gonna keep it like really short because everybody will know the story of Resident Evil 4, of course. One of the reasons Resident Evil 4 is so beloved is because of its protagonist, Leon S. Kennedy. And to this day I say I can be gay for Leon and I will not care. I will have babies from Leon and I will not care. He's the only one that I can be gay of. I do not care. No longer the rugged cop from Resident Evil 2, Leon had transformed into a one-man army. Let me say this again. Leon had transformed into a one-man army. Spouting one-liners and bro, he was suplexing enemies like he was auditioning for the WWE. He was no longer just a survivor. He was an action hero, and while I love this version of Leon, not gonna lie, it marked a turning point for the franchise's tone. Then there's Ashley. What the fuck can I say about Ashley, bro? The walking, talking escort mission. While she wasn't as unbearable as some make her out to be, I mean, yeah, I found her okay. She was a sign of Resident Evil's shift towards a more cinematic, action-driven experience. Instead of navigating horror-filled environments solo, Leon now had to deal with NPCs and scripted sequences that pulled the player away from the traditional survivor horror. And I know everyone is having PTSD hearing Leon, cause I am.
Sadler!
So, if Resident Evil 4 changed the franchise for the worse, why is it still considered one of the greatest games of all time? Simple, because it's a damn near perfect game. Let me say it again. It's a damn near perfect game. From the pacing, the combat, the atmosphere, it's all executed flawlessly. A kiss chef. The game walks a fine line between horror and action in a way that no other RE game has truly replicated. It's scary, but it's also thrilling, tense, but empowering. Every encounter is designed with precision, making combat feel engaging without sacrificing tension. The level design encourages exploration, yet always keeps the player on edge. And the variety of gameplay, from intense shootouts to puzzles and survival moments, ensures that no two sections feel the same. Then there are the unforgettable moments. The first time you hear the regenerators breathing, the desperate fight for survival in the village, the terrifying lake monster. These moments are burned into gaming history because RE4 knew how to keep players engaged without ever letting them feel truly safe. Capcom eventually course corrected. Resident Evil 7 brought back the terror, village balanced action and horror far better than 5 and 6 ever did in my opinion, but none of this would have been possible without Resident Evil 4. It changed gaming forever, for better and for worse. So let me ask you this, did Resident Evil 4 almost ruin the franchise? Maybe, but it also saved it, and that is what makes it legendary in my opinion. So, what do you think? Did Resident Evil 4 push the series too far into action, or was it a necessary evolution? Well, let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, well, I'm not gonna say deep dives, that's me rambling about my opinion into a world of gaming, and as always, thanks for watching.